Welcome to I Feel Fat Today. I'm your host, Kelly Taylor. Thank you so much for joining me. We're back. We're doing it. We're back recording episodes. I'm super excited to be restarting this. And if you're somebody that had listened in the past, back when I launched the podcast, I truly am really disconnected from that time. So I can't really remember when it was. I think it was December of 2020 when the podcast launched, and it lasted about, I think, 25 episodes on like either a weekly or a bi-weekly basis. And it was me speaking into a microphone, sort of psychobabbling. And I think the way that I was doing it, the way that I was presenting myself wasn't sustainable. And so I said if I was going to come back, I was going to do it right. And now here I am. And it's a totally different show. And I'm really excited. I think that if you were somebody that watched I Feel Fat Today or listened to, because we didn't have video at the time, if you were someone that listened to the podcast and you enjoyed it, you're really going to enjoy what I am doing now. And so thank you for coming along on this journey, and I'm excited to see where it goes. We're going to be having guests that I do interviews with, and I am so psyched about those. Podcasting is something that I really enjoy. I think it's like a really cool medium to exercise that creative joke muscle, also while getting into some heavy topics. And finding some real levity in heavy shit. So we're happy to be here. I'm glad to be here. And so what I want to do, just to sort of set the scene and get our first inaugural episode out. I guess you can call it season 2. I'm gonna have these little intros into the episodes, and then we'll go into the interview. And I don't think, every single episode may not be an interview with a comic, but they will, I would say a majority would be, with the occasional solo episode going back to our roots. So, without further ado, I'm going to get us started. For this very first episode of I Feel Fat Today, part 2. I just want to acknowledge the absence and the hiatus, and it's something that I said I would always come back to, and I'm glad that I finally am. I think that the reason why I stopped, it wasn't, any kind of like mental breakdown or anything like that. It definitely was sort of this feeling of just like, I'm putting way too much of myself out there. And the funny thing is that that's what I love about podcasting, is how when someone is good at what they're doing on a podcast, you like really are getting to know them. Maybe not the real them, but it's like not just their on-stage persona or their like self that they're presenting on Instagram. Something like that. And I think I got a little afraid of just what I was letting in. But now, with the way that things are structured now, I think that the podcast will be a little less chaotic and more palatable. And I just want to, say that, and hopefully I won't reference me stopping and starting again, anymore moving forward, and we'll get more into more of a flow. What you can expect is that the podcasts are going to come out every week, and they're going to come out every Friday, and each podcast, like I said before, will start with a little bit of an intro, and then we'll go into the interview. And we'll talk about all things, we're still going to talk about fad diets and insecurities. Things may not be, every single episode may not be totally focused on just, weight gain, weight loss, dieting. But I think that if you're a listener, you'll be super interested in the topics that I talk about with the guests and what I talk about at the top of the episodes. One thing that's not coming back is I'm not going to be saying my weight at the top of the episode. I think that sometimes we do things that feel like it's a step in the right direction, but really it's detrimental. And for me, I think part of the reason why I found myself struggling to even set the time aside to record and have the episodes come out was just the having to get on a scale and confront that number. And I think at first I sort of looked at it as like taking the power back and owning it. And I think also I had this insecurity that I had a podcast about being fat, and I didn't want, it was a few things. I don't want I'm calling myself fat before you can call me fat. And I also am saying, like, I am a certified fat person. So don't come at me saying that I'm coming from a place where I don't know what I'm talking about, because I know exactly what I'm talking about. These are lived experiences. The diets that I've talked about are diets that I have done in the past, maybe not all of them, but a lot of them. And the feedback on those things, those episodes have been really great. And, I've had people comment that, they've tried or they've known someone that tried a dangerous diet that I did an episode on, and it resulted in really detrimental health side effects. And like, these are the conversations I want to be having and stirring up. And so, yeah, I don't know how I got here from saying that I'm not going to be saying how much I weigh at the top of the episode, but that's just something. Okay. So if you're still listening, I hope you are, and I hope you're watching, because we are on YouTube, people. That's the future of podcasts. I enjoy an audio medium, but YouTube is, it's so fun to watch podcasts. I think that there are some nuance that may be lost when you're not watching, in terms of like body language and things of that nature. And it'll be really enjoyable to watch. And also, you're going to be able to see my dog and my cat, which is exciting because I film in my living room. I'm not filming in my living room right now, but you get the idea. The intro, we're playing around with where I'm going to be filming this, because right now I'm not comfortable with this setup, but whatever. One of the reasons why I hadn't started this is because I was just waiting for the perfect time, and the time will never be perfect. If you're waiting to start something, and the reason why you're not starting it is because you're waiting for the perfect conditions, you're never going to start. Just start. You learn as you go. You learn along the way. Ask people for help. That was another thing. I was not asking people for help, and I created an unsustainable environment. And then I sort of, sat on my hands for 2 years, 3 years. I don't even want to think about it, but it doesn't matter, because we're doing it now. And I think that this is going to be a show that if I love it, you'll love it. Okay. So, for this week's episode, for our launch episode, I wanted to talk about a weight-related issue, I guess, that is really funny to me, and it's inspired by the beautiful welt on my face that is the result of a spider bite that I believe must have happened in the middle of the night. Probably about 2 weeks ago, I woke up one morning and I had what I thought was a pimple. And it made sense, because even though I have relatively clear skin around my period, you can expect a pimple like that. If I was going to get one, it would be that time, and the timing just lined up that way. So that's what I thought this was. And the pain, the numbness, the headaches this thing has caused me, and the fact that now I can see that there are very clearly 2 fang imprints in my face, this is a spider bite. And so that's great, knowing that when I lay my head down on my pillow at night, there is a spider crawling amongst my bed, infecting my face. I'll post a photo so you can see this nasty welt if you can't already see it loud and clear on my face. And the reason why I bring the spider bite up is because the first thing I thought of when I realized I had this bite on my face was an episode of the notorious show Dr. Phil. About 15 years ago, a woman was on the show talking about the fact that a spider bite had resulted in a 400-pound weight gain. I don't mean to laugh, but just on the surface, that is very funny. And it kind of was just a running joke in my household with me and my older brother of this woman having this spider bite that resulted in it basically taking over her life. Obviously, there is more at hand here, but I pulled up a synopsis of the episode from Dr. Phil's website, and we're gonna get into it. Okay, so this episode, like I said, it aired on August 6th, 2006. So this episode aired back in 2006. So just like we're in 2023 right now, so just put that into context of like when I read through this, the way people are reacting, the way the situation is being handled. This spider bite happened 9 years before this episode in 2006. So mental health was very different. I think the way we communicated was very different, 30 years ago. So just bear that in mind. Okay, so this episode of the Dr. Phil show was called Big Burden, DD. Within the last 9 years, I've more than doubled in size. I went from 290 pounds to 700 and change, said DD 47. 9 years ago, I was bitten by a brown recluse spider and says that contributed to her weight gain. No matter what they treated it with, my leg got worse. My leg is so swollen and so painful, I can't move it. The swelling got so bad, it compromised my circulation. I couldn't breathe, I couldn't walk, and I had to give up work, Dee Dee explains. A spider bite is a legitimate problem, but it doesn't justify a 400-pound weight gain, says Shara, one of Dee Dee's only friends who comes to visit her. Dee Dee is an overeater and always has been. After Dee Dee was incapacitated by the spider bite, her husband had to take a second job, and her son and daughter had to take care of her. I no longer was a mother and a mother. I no longer was a mother and a worker and a wife. I'd become a burden, Dee Dee shares. The kids are so exhausted. They can't approach her without her asking for something, Shara reveals. They were really just children, so they started bringing her food, trying to comfort her. It turned into resentment. They share food instead of love. They stay in the house in a little cocoon, eat and watch movies. I feel sorry for each other and get sicker and sicker. Oh, that is so sad. The only time I have for myself is school, says Dee Dee's son, Sean, 22. His mom will call him when His mom will call him when he is out and ask him to bring him food. My mom has me buy a lot of things that we shouldn't have. Everything in the house is a snack. We have soda, cereal. We always have M&Ms available, Ritz crackers, huge blocks of cheese, says Jamie, Dee Dee's 21-year-old daughter. If I want to be by myself, she accuses me of not loving her. I resent her for that, Jamie reveals. I focus on getting out of the house, even though my mom thinks I'm going to be here until I'm 26. I don't want to have to be her caretaker. I'm just going to pause right here. Now, initially, when I'm reading that, I'm like, Okay, Sean, 22, Jamie, 21. Like, when I was that age, I feel like I would have had the wherewithal to be like, sorry, but no, like I'm not doing this. But I also have to remember, like, I'm 30 now, and so I have the ability to set up boundaries that I didn't have when I was in my early 20s, especially. And we didn't talk about things like boundaries. We didn't know what that was, 20 years ago. And I initially had a lot of judgment towards these two kids that really are a victim of this circumstance and abuse of their mother. And, you don't really think about 22-year-olds, 21-year-olds as kids, but when you look at when you look at overall, like, a human's life, if you're lucky to live in your 80s and your 90s, like, 20 is so low on that path of life that you don't know anything. You only know your environment. You only know, and by the sounds of this article, this is something that happened, what was it, 9 years ago? She was bit by this spider, and the mom, Dee Dee, decided to use this as her excuse as to why she can no longer work, why she must be waited on hand and foot. So these were children that when their mom asked, bring me food, they did it because they wanted to help their mom. Maybe they thought in their mind, if I bring this to her, she'll get better. And now here we are with two, damaged kids at 21 and 22 years old that now have this, like, insane codependency with their mother because their mother created that environment. Okay. I said that. Okay, here we go. Starting again. My metabolism is so bad at this point that I hardly eat anything and I still don't lose weight, Dee Dee says. I'm a prisoner in my own home. That's really frightening. She says that she used to have a life, but not anymore. I feel like I'm a rolling disease, she says. I blame the spider. Okay, we're playing the blame game hard on this brown recluse spider. It's terrible that happened. I mean, I don't know what it would be like to get bit by a brown recluse spider. To be honest, I thought that a brown recluse was one of those spiders that, like, once it bites you, you're just dead if you're not, like, at the hospital ASAP. So what do I know? Her friend Shara feels otherwise. She's just embattled in denial. Dee Dee eats when she's alone, she reveals. Dee Dee has a refrigerator next to her bed and a big jar of M&Ms at the foot of the bed. She just sat and ate and ate and ate to the point where she could barely move. The mantra is, poor me, poor me. Dee Dee operates on self-pity, guilt, shame, and pressure. Shara suggests someone wire Dee Dee's mouth shut. I think Shara is probably a really good influence in Dee Dee's life, but I think we've all probably seen that one clip of Kristen Bell sharing what her therapist told her, which is honesty without tact is cruelty. And when Dee Dee is in the mental state that she's in, I think tact is sort of needed here and a bit of compassion, because even though the reality is that her mantra is poor me, and she's operating on self-pity, guilt, and shame, it's better to, I think, approach things with a gentle touch, rather than coming from a place of frustration. And I totally understand that. I am just sort of like recounting interviews with these people, and Shara is probably so fed up and so annoyed with Dee Dee and seeing the damage that it's done to her family and her children, and wanting to just shake her and be like, let's unplug the refrigerator that is next to your bed. Dee Dee's husband of 21 years, Ron, acknowledges the problem. I'm not blind. I see that she's obese. I see the various tasks that we're asked to do. He says I have dreams and goals. And I kind of surrendered them. But she has a big heart and is very loving. I don't believe I can imagine myself without her. Dee Dee wants to change. I don't want to be one of those people who you have to go and rip out a wall and be dragged out by cranes, she says. Recently, she fell and her family had to call the paramedics. Then 15 firemen showed up and one of them said, "Well, we can put a hole through this wall." I freaked out. That's where I'm headed. The thing that saddens me the most is that it's just a waste of a life, Shara says. She turns to Dr. Phil for help. "Can you please help my friend see that there is another way?" I just want to backtrack a little bit, going back to Dee Dee's husband, Ron. He sounds like a really nice man. And, he's trying to say, like, I'm not dumb. I see that there's a problem here. This man is an enabler. And he has turned his children into enablers. And now we're all operating under this weird assumption that we've created this personal hell for ourselves in our family home because of a spider. And that's the result of enabling. So 2 things can be true. Honesty without tact is cruelty. And the way that you are thinking you're helping someone is fully enabling. Okay. Okay, I'll pick up here. The thing that saddens me the most is that it's just a waste of life, Shara says. She turns to Dr. Phil for help. "Can you please help my friend see that there's another way?" Dee Dee hasn't left her home in over a year. It took 5 men, a van equipped with a special lift, a motorized wheelchair, 2 cranes, and multiple oxygen tanks to get her to Los Angeles to be on the show. Oh, God. The devil works hard, but the producers of the Dr. Phil show work harder. If a normal person wanted to leave, they'd grab their purse, they'd walk outside, they'd get into a car and go. I have to bring my oxygen concentrator, a bag of medication, tubing, my cranes. I have to bring my wheelchair, Dee Dee explains. I'm constantly afraid I will fall down. Running out of oxygen is a fear. I have 6 tanks today so that I'm well prepared. It's like a last-ditch effort. Everybody else so far has written me off. I can only move so much and my legs go dead and start throbbing. Dee Dee arrives at the hospital and must enter through a side door. It's difficult to appear in public because you cease to become a person, she shares. Checking into a hotel should be a fun experience, but it's not when you're large like this. If I lie down on the bed, am I going to hear the box spring go? The experience of being part of the show gives Dee Dee encouragement. I feel better than I have in a long time because I have some hope now that something maybe will happen, she says. I hope this is the start of a lot of good things in our life. If there's any way to get my life back where it was before or a new life, I'm all for it. How do you feel about being here? Why did you want to do this? Dr. Phil asked Dee Dee. Hundreds of reasons, but mostly because I really don't see anything better happening without something like this, she says. Okay, I just got to put a pin in this. Dee Dee, you don't, like, this is like, talk about operating in extremes. Like, she feels like she has to go onto national television on the Dr. Phil show where she is going to be subjected to millions of people mocking and ridiculing her as the way that she can take her life back from this spider. I mean, that's the kind of desperation point people get to when they find themselves in a position such as Dee Dee. And, oh, man, I used to be such a fan of the Dr. Phil show. I really thought he was doing good work. But then again, I used to also be Republican and pro-choice. So people grow. Okay, going back to this. What's going to happen if this doesn't turn? Dr. Phil asks. I'm going to end up in my grave. It's like a ticking time bomb, really, Dee Dee acknowledges. Are you scared? Petrified, Dee Dee says, voice quavering. What scares you the most? Dr. Phil probes. That ultimately my kids might end up like this, she says. We've all given up hope. We're living so much day to day that we're forgetting that you can have a plan for the future. You can be working towards something. We're not working towards anything except the eventual funeral. Everybody has on their mind on some level the question, how could this happen? How could you let this happen? Dr. Phil asks. So easily, Dee Dee says. I don't mean to laugh. I'm sorry. So easily, Dee Dee says. Since high school, she's been overweight and she got used to it. I graduated nursing school and finally got my first nursing job. Everything was in such a high point. I didn't pay attention to my weight at that point because I was happy and I was busy and everything was okay. Then I got bit by the spider and it was night and day. It changed everything. It sounds like you blamed this on the spider bite, Dr. Phil points out. I blamed the initial downfall on the spider bite, Dee Dee agrees. But the truth is, in 1985, you weighed 339 pounds, Dr. Phil reminded her. In 1997, when you were bitten, you weighed 310 pounds. So you had a problem before the spider bite. My whole life I did, Dee Dee agrees. She explains that when she went to the doctors, they always told her they couldn't help her because the treatments weren't covered by insurance, and others told her not to worry because she would eventually just die. What the fuck? I never heard anybody ever say to me, maybe if you did the right thing or we did the right thing, it could get you in reverse. But I never heard that once. I got told over and over again that I didn't count anymore, that they had counted me out because I was large and put me in a category where it's a lost cause, and I gave up. And that's why I got fat. I gave up. What do you think I'm going to tell you? Dr. Phil asks. I know you don't take any bull from anybody and you hone in on exactly what the problem is, and I'm depending on you to do that to me, Dee Dee tells Dr. Phil. I've gotten so used to being depressed and upset about what's going on and angry that I've lost my soul to this thing. It's like, have you ever looked at somebody like they had a great little twinkle in their eye? I lost it. It got robbed, and I helped it. I know I helped it along the way. But it was really taken away before I was ready for it. Well, take a good look in my eye because I have enough twinkle for the both of us, Dr. Phil assures her. And that's all I got from the Dr. Phil website. But what it sounds like here is that I'm not a doctor, but it sounds like Miss Dee Dee was very tired at the time of this spider bite. And, she was a working nurse, which is not an easy job. I think Dee Dee was very tired, and I think Dee Dee was very fed up and was already upset with herself at the time of being bitten by the spider. I believe the article said she was 310 or 330 pounds, which is obese. And much like I joke about, I'll look for an excuse for my problems anywhere that's outside of myself. Is it Mercury retrograde and I'm so crazy because of that? Or have I just stopped my Lexapro cold turkey? That sort of thing. And I think this spider bite was her Mercury retrograde. I think that's what it was, to be like, oh, this thing has happened. And because it completely inhibited her physical ability because of, the bite happening on her leg and her leg blowing up. When she lost her movement, she lost everything. And she just probably gained more weight in trying to recuperate from the brown recluse spider bite. And now her narrative is that the spider took this from me. I lost everything because of this spider. And it's really sad. And I guess in summation, does a spider bite cause you to gain a lot of weight? In theory, yeah, depending on how you paint the narrative. Do I think the spider bite on my cheek is going to be the reason that I all of a sudden gain 400 pounds? No, I think I'll be okay. It is the reason why I think I have a horrible headache. It has nothing to do with the margaritas I had yesterday, though. Okay, that's that. That's the little story for this week's episode. And we're going to get into the episode. I am so excited for this week's guest. She is so funny. She is the reason why you are watching this right now because as one of my friends and believer in my comedic abilities, she has really been championing me restarting I Feel Fat Today. She loves the concept. She loved the episodes before I went on a hiatus, and she is very funny. Please welcome my guest for this week, the very funny Mae Planert.
Okay, here we are.
We're doing it.
Are we live or?
No, we're live. We're doing it.
Okay.
We're recording.
I'm like, is Joe gonna put headphones on? I feel self-conscious.
No, we're all set. We're all good. Yeah, I'm all situated. Yeah, Finn, you're excited. Welcome to I Feel Fat Today. My guest, Mae Planert. Welcome. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you for having me. I have been waiting.
I know.
To be a guest on this podcast, so I'm so excited.
I know. Without Mae, I don't know if we would even be in this position, but here we are. We're doing it, and I'm very grateful for it.
It's the best concept in the world. So if you're listening, tell your friends, like and subscribe.
Thank you so much. I love it. Yeah, and like it. Everyone I have on like isn't always gonna have stuff to talk about when it comes to weight or food. It really is like insecurities in general. Finn, you gotta chill.
I know. He's really excited to see me.
Super excited.
With
He's
his new haircut.
He's just like loving the color you have on right now.
Hi, bunny. I know. I've decided that lime green is my summer color.
I think it's a good one.
I'm happy with it.
Did you see that Bay's Luggage put out those new colors?
I don't even know what Bay's Luggage is.
Oh.
Is it sponsored by the pod?
No. Oh, God. I would love it. I would love if they sponsored the pod. No, Bay's is, I think she's from either Gossip Girl or Pretty Little Liars. Those are the same show in my head.
Yeah.
But one of the girls from that show, like, started this luggage company. I have one. I love it. I love Bay's bags, but that's one of the colors of the bags.
Okay, I'll have to get one.
Yeah, you do. You definitely do.
It's illegal for me not to have one.
Seriously. Awesome. Yeah. So I wanted to first ask you about, so you were an athlete in high school.
I was. I played hockey.
When did you start hockey?
So I started I came from I'm from Massachusetts and I just if you guys are listening just audio, there's a ton of animals, so maybe like and subscribe on YouTube.
Yeah, definitely go to the YouTube. This is a visual podcast.
But anyway, yeah, so my dad played hockey at Merrimack, which was a D1 school at the time and whatever. So and also my dad is from Chicago, and he was a part of sort of like an ice skate dynasty. So you know Bauer. It's like a big brand in hockey, and it used to be called Planert.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, back in the day it was Planert, and then my grandfather sold it in like the 1930s for a terrible deal. And so basically, long story short, I could be the richest person you've ever met, and instead I'm me.
Damn.
And I'm pretty middle class, but whatever. But anyway, and then so he sold the money to open up like a little tiny skating rink, and he taught kids to skate. So like we're a very like hockey forward family.
Wow, okay.
Anyway, so long story short, I started when I was like 3. And then I played through high school, and I was supposed to go to college for it, but I decided I didn't want to do that because I only got into D3 schools because my grades were so fucking bad. And here's a hot tip. People don't really give a shit about women's hockey, turns out.
Curious.
As a 17-year-old, I was floored. I was
absolutely flabbergasted.
I was like, why the fuck am I not getting into Boston College with this 2.1 GPA? I don't understand why.
Oh my God.
I was like, I am such a good female hockey player. And they were like, I think you just answered your question.
And you weren't, well, I don't know when you, like, have you ever played on a women's team, or were you always on boys' teams?
So I was always on boys' teams, like straight through when I was 17. I was on boys' teams the entire time, but in college you have to play on the girls' team.
Yeah, you have to play on the girls' team. Wow, you would have dominated.
If only I wasn't a fucking idiot.
Were any of the schools willing to give you
anywhere?
Were any of the schools willing to give you money?
Yes.
Wow.
So I could have gone to like a few of the D3 schools for money, and I don't know why the fuck I didn't do that. I definitely should have done that.
I mean, you were asking an 18-year-old to make a decision like that.
Exactly.
Like when it comes to, am I going to go to a school that's D3 and, you know, devote this time into working out and exercising and stuff?
Right. And like traveling.
And traveling and training and like taking away from the social aspect. then what's the point?
Right.
Even though in
or going to the
hindsight-
beach and partying, which is exactly what I did.
right.
So
And I'm sure you had a better time.
I had I mean, yeah.
I've met your friends from college. They're good people.
Oh yeah.
So that something that I noticed is that like after high school and I'm into college, I think part of like the freshman 15 is like, okay, well now we're no longer being athletic. Like we're not doing like track,
Totally.
softball, hockey, whatever it is, anymore. So did you feel that?
Yes, I did, and it was actually really funny because my mother, which we could talk about because she's never going to listen to this, but I remember her like threatening me with that when I was like,
No.
when I was like, I don't want to go to this school. It was like in upstate New York, and that was where I was going to play hockey. I was like, I don't really want to do that. I would rather go where I went. And she was like, well, you're probably going to gain weight.
I love that that's like a point that she brought up
Yeah.
because it, like, you know,
And I was like, yeah, probably.
yeah, totally. Your mom is like, she says what people won't say.
Yes.
I feel like that's like your mom's MO.
Totally. Like my mom was a big, it's nothing tastes as good as skinny feels kind of lady,
Mhm.
which is kind of true.
I feel like, okay, so you're from Massachusetts. I feel like it's not just your mom that was like that. Like it's like the moms in your area, in your town.
Yeah, because it's very much just like a truth
Yeah.
telling kind of
Yeah,
people.
totally.
Which I feel like you don't get much of anymore.
No, not at all.
Yeah, but yeah, so I was threatened with the freshman 15. And I remember telling my mom, I was like, well, they have a nice gym. I'm going to go to that. She goes, you're not going to go to the gym.
I totally chose my college for the gym, and I did not go to the
What
gym.
a fucking
I know.
What were we thinking? Like, when we're crazy hungover and like
I
had
know.
done drugs all day last night.
Yeah.
Like,
No.
no.
I thought the thing that was going to turn my life around was taking 8:30 a.m. Yoga class
No,
on
come on.
Fridays.
No.
8:30 yoga on Fridays. A bunch of girls
Absolutely not.
did. It was like
No
a
way.
group of us. We would all go hungover
What?
to
Are you
this
kidding
8:30
me?
yoga class.
That is some 21-year-old shit
I
if
know.
I've ever heard it.
So dumb. But we had fun. It was just like basically drunk yoga every week.
That's
get 'em.
insane.
I know. Well, you know, again, decisions that we make as like 20-year-olds.
Yeah.
Finnegan. He's guarding the estate.
Oh, no.
It's fine.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. So your mom is so funny, and she is. I do want to bring up the story that your cousin told at your bachelorette.
Okay.
If you don't mind.
Yes.
Okay. So I don't know if I was just like it was a travel day or if I was just tired and hungry. But your cousin told this story, and I fell out of my chair laughing. It was so funny. So you were like, how old?
I think I was like 3 years
Oh my God.
old.
I'm picturing like a 5, 6, 7-year-old.
I was probably like 3 or like 3 tops 4.
This is just a quintessential story of like it's not that bad, but it would never happen now.
It would
like, never happen now.
So I'll tell the story real
Yeah.
quick. So basically, this is like a family heirloom, this story. So I had crazy, like I still had like really thick like hair as a kid, but I obviously didn't know how to do it. So it was just like wild and crazy all the time. And so my mom would follow me around with a brush, and I would be like running away from her like I was like a cat, like like hiding under chairs and shit. And my mom like would corner me, and she would start brushing my hair, and I would be crying, and she would yell. She would be like, "Beauty is pain, Mae. Or then she goes, what do I always tell you? What do I always tell you? And I go, it hurts to be beautiful.
Oh my God. And she was so
She
right.
is so fucking right. It's not even funny. Like I went in to get a micro needling the other day. Have you done that yet?
No, I haven't, but I want to.
God bless.
It's
It
crazy.
is so painful. It hurts so fucking much.
Really?
Dude. It hurts so much. And like I was at this place, and I was talking to them, and I was like, God, I hate being a woman. Like, haha, you know, I'm just trying to make jokes through this like horrific pain. And they were like, actually, you know, like anyone can get this. I was like, you know what? Let me have this.
Yeah.
Let me have
Because I know
this.
anyone can do this, but who's doing this?
But Mark is not going in and getting micro needling
Oh my
because his
God.
pores look a little bigger than they did last year. I'm telling you Right. That will never happen.
I literally, sometimes I feel like when I'll prepare for something, like whether it's recording a podcast or doing a show, like I have to take the extra time to like put on some makeup,
right.
brush my hair. And I feel like Joe kind of sits here and is like, what are you doing that for? And it's like, what do you think I'm doing that for?
Right.
Like you don't even have to moisturize. Like you moisturize once in the morning, which is like, even then it's not something that men do.
Yeah.
But yeah, just let me have it. Just let me have this.
Just
one
let
thing.
me have this one thing. I'm getting needles poked into my fucking skin.
Giving you a lot of money for it too.
Yeah.
So you know what? Yeah, this is a specifically woman thing that's happening.
It hurts my pocket and it hurts my face.
Yeah.
So let me fucking have this.
Your face did look crazy after that. You sent a photo.
Yeah.
And didn't you like go out and do stuff that day?
Yeah. I had a set. I just looked like I had like a horrible sunburn though. By the time I was doing my set, like right afterwards, it looked like I had just like gone into fucking war.
Yeah.
But, what's the craziest medical or like elective procedure that you've had done?
I have a wish list of what I want to do. I haven't done anything. Literally.
Wow, quit bragging.
I know. But it's not a brag. It's not at all a brag. Like I want to do Botox. I want to do.
You don't need Botox though.
But
I was actually thinking about this the other day because I think I knew that you didn't do Botox. And I was like, how the fuck is she never done Botox? Like I have like the most movement ever in my forehead.
So I'll tell you. Okay, like I don't want to sound like I'm somebody that like isn't for change and like thinks that the ways that we were brought up were 100% good. But I will tell you, my grandmother always said, like, she instilled in me to like moisturize and stuff, and like was like said like, this is how you keep your face nice. Why are you bothering her?
I don't know. He wants to be on the podcast.
Yeah.
Finny, what do you have to say to the people? Nothing. That's
you
what
choked.
I thought.
You choked.
You choked.
He's like a heckler that like you give attention to. Yeah, I know. But yeah, so my grandma like would just like instill it in me, like this is how we keep our skin nice, you know, and like I don't want to be like, oh, I moisturize and I
drop the routine.
Oh my gosh, it's literally whatever comes in my Ipsy.
Oh, Ipsy! I forgot about Ipsy.
I still do Ipsy. I love having a treat. I am motivated by treats, and so like having a nice little monthly thing come in. But yeah, just sunblock. That's what it is. It's sunblock.
Yeah.
Morning, noon, night. And I know you're thinking like the sun isn't out at night. Why would you wear sunblock? The UV rays still will cause you to wrinkle.
No way.
Yes, I'm telling you.
Holy shit.
So in terms of procedures, I treated myself to a facial once or twice, which was luxurious. And I asked the girl, like, how often do you recommend doing this? She was like, it's best to go once a month.
What?
Yeah, to get a facial done.
Do you go once a month?
I want to, but no.
That seems like a lot.
It is a lot. They're not cheap. They're not cheap.
They're not cheap, and like not even just like the money wise. I'm like, okay, I don't have like I don't have that much time.
I know. I mean, I did go to a place in Williamsburg, so there are a lot of people in this town that have the time because they're just either stay-at-home moms or whatever they got going on. But in this whole new work from home environment, you got time for anything.
That's true.
You did go midday to get your microblading done.
That's so true.
No one from work's watching.
Yeah, whatever. Even if they are, I feel like my boss is like super into this kind of stuff, so she'd be like, "Oh yeah, how was the microblading?"
Totally.
She
Report
wouldn't
back.
care.
Yeah.
I feel like people went from like going into an office and being preoccupied with being in the office for 40 hours a week to like literally working like 10 hours.
You know, it depends, because today I was like burnt, like the moment I woke up, which is not that early. I rolled out famously asleep. So let's call it like from 10 a.m. to like 4 p.m. I was going all day, just like it just wouldn't stop. But then yesterday, I barely had anything come through, so it just fucking depends.
Yeah,
it just depends. But that's the thing. Like I spent. How much time did you spend in your office pre-COVID pretending to work?
So much time. And I still pretend to work now because like I have this like millennial guilt, I'm going to brand it, about like, I'm like, oh, I would be in the office right now, so I have to be by my desk. And I'm like, but my job is sales. So I'm like, if I'm not proactively reaching out to people and nobody has a question for me.
Right.
there's no reason I can't do this some other time.
Yeah, no, totally.
Like,
And
there's no reason I can't, like, we have all the software and stuff. There's no reason I can't schedule an email to go out tomorrow at 10 o'clock at night if I'm watching TV and just like.
Yeah. The part of me is like, I love the freedom of like 100% work from home, but part of me does feel like if I had to go into the office where they were like, okay, like once or twice a week, you have to go into the office. I know the way that I would work, and that would be the day that I get all my work done for the week, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, that would be good. But I would never wish that. I wouldn't want them to all of a sudden be like, oh, you have to go in.
No.
Which they wouldn't, because they sold the Manhattan office and they've downsized significantly. So,
but also that would be kind of hard. Like, it would be sort of hard because then you see your coworkers and you're talking to your fucking coworkers.
I have coworkers that are like, I miss the environment of going and hanging out with people. And I'm like, I'm good on that.
Yeah, I'm good on that.
I don't even want to join a Zoom call or a Teams call a few minutes early to have to like engage in, you know,
the chit chat.
the chit chat.
You know what's funny is I saw a TikTok that was like, it's kind of like nice, and I kind of want to do it. Do it with me, but it is sort of sad the way what they were marketing it. It was a TikTok of this girl, and she's like, do you live in New York and are you lonely? Because we get together every Sunday at this time to go on long walks. And I was like, I'll do that.
Yeah, that sounds kind of nice.
But I also was like, what kind of fucking crazy ass people are going to be at this?
I know, because I'm not exactly lonely.
No, I'm not lonely.
But it's just something nice.
It's just something to do, and something like I don't mind going on a walk.
Yeah, I feel like if I didn't have comedy, I would be a little bit more like this work from home thing's driving me crazy.
Same.
Because aside from walking the dog, like comedy is what gets me out of the house.
That's true. Yeah, we're out of the house most days.
Yeah.
Like there were a few days in the winter that I just like straight up did not leave the house all day.
Yeah.
But I don't I feel like those were like few and far between.
Right.
Usually I'm out of the house, definitely out of the house for some reason.
I was thinking about how, because I had to go get my new coffee table from the Upper East Side after work today. And I was thinking about, I was taking the same route that I used to commute to work.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, like I don't know why it just hit me today or why I thought of it again today. But I was like, this was movement in the morning and in the evening that was just built into my day.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was like wiped off the map. Like because of COVID,
right.
You know? And I prefer things the way they are now, but it was really like a sudden realization because I was just thinking back to, I feel like there was like so many people gained so much weight over the pandemic.
They did.
And that alone, because what I say to my friends about living in New York, part of the reason why I love living in New York is because I really do feel like it keeps me mobile. It keeps me young. It keeps me moving, because the more sedentary you are, the older you get,
to like stay that way.
Just to stay that way.
Yeah.
And like our health in our 20s, 30s, and I guess 20s, 30s, 40s, and a little bit into our 50s is what keeps us like moving our 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s.
Oh, absolutely.
And without New York, like I would, oh my God, anytime I get to rent a car, I'm like, this is living, man.
Yeah,
like you get all your shit around you. You can just like roll into places like, I want a Diet Coke. Let me go to McDonald's. Like you have such freedom when you're in this car where it's like, okay, I have to walk somewhere to get what I want if I want to go to the bodega.
Exactly. If it's like, you could sit there and be like, okay, I really want, whatever the fuck, a Snickers bar or whatever the hell. And you're like, do I want it badly enough to put on shoes and go downstairs and walk across the fucking street?
Yeah.
No.
The answer is always no.
Yeah. And unless it's a drink. I'm like,
I know. It's so true.
I gained a shitload of weight right in the beginning of COVID because I think for the reasons that you just described, where like every day where I would wake up, first of all, I used to have to go into the office at 9. So that meant that I was up at like 8:15.
I know.
And I would wake up and I would look horrible going into the office and just like, quickly get ready, put on some deodorant, go the fuck to the subway, and you're like walking upstairs, you're walking downstairs, you're doing all this. I'm like hoofing it to my fuck, because I'm like hauling ass because I'm like, I am late, dude. So that's just like getting my heart rate up in the morning. That's just gone out of my life. And I was drinking so much.
So much.
In the very beginning,
Yeah,
I was like,
dude.
oh fuck. I mean, in the very beginning, genuinely, I was putting down a bottle of wine per day, every day.
Oh,
At
100%.
least.
No stopping. And because, like, I had a roommate at the time, and, you know, if I wanted to chill at home with a glass of wine, I almost said a bottle, a glass of wine, and she wouldn't drink with me, I felt a little bit, like, icky, so, like, I wouldn't do it. And then with COVID, she was like, I got fucking nothing to do. Yeah, I'll drink.
Yeah.
And so we were drinking together, and then we would get on Zoom calls with people.
Oh, yeah.
And
The friends. Remember those Zoom?
Yeah.
Those were, like, so sad.
I hung out with people during COVID that I hadn't seen. Like, I was like acquaintances with.
Yeah.
Like, I'm pretty sure because of COVID, I ended up getting like invited to friends' weddings that I otherwise wouldn't have because we wouldn't have connected.
Yeah.
You know, like people I used to like have shore houses with. We were like, oh, girls, how are you doing? Let's go hop on a Zoom call or whatever, which I did like the pandemic for that.
I kind of thought during the pandemic that would stick around.
Me too.
I was
this
like,
is so great.
I was like, we'll just like, there'll be like scheduled Zoom calls. Like, you know, I have friends that live out of state and whatever. And I was like, oh, this is going to be a thing that people do moving forward. And it's just totally
was not at all.
No.
Which, you know what? I'm a busy girl.
Yeah,
so
I got things to do. I have Succession to watch.
Yeah, I have Succession to watch. I, still have bottles of wine to drink.
Yeah.
You know.
Same.
But
But yeah, I gained so much weight just from the alcohol and just the sitting.
Yeah.
I was just like sitting around.
And then it was like, okay, well, we're bored, so like let's put on like a home workout thing on YouTube, which is like, this is only satiating my boredness for a little bit. I'm not getting the benefits of feeling like I'm working out.
You know what? I think I've thrown in the towel on at-home workouts.
Yeah, they're not for you.
I just can't do it.
You thrive in a class environment.
I do. I like to go somewhere and like, I want it to be the thing that I'm doing for the next hour, and it's like a two-pronged approach where I'm like, okay, I'm doing the exercises and I'm not on my phone for an hour, which is an accomplishment for me. So like, I don't know. I tried to do it over the pandemic because you fucking had to. Yeah. And it's just like, it's so much cheaper. So I like wish I was that kind of person, but like I'm just not. It's like school. I'm like, I cannot do this. I won't. I'm not going to.
Well, the way that you describe class workouts, like you are a salesperson, because the way you talk about them, I'm like, oh, I could get into that. Like the way that you talk about them, like you described it one time, you were like, the class is so hard that for that hour, there's no thoughts.
Yes.
There's no thoughts happening.
Yes.
I'm just thinking about this one thing that's happening.
Right.
And you had took our friend Claire out to a class.
Yeah.
And you guys are of different athletic abilities, different body types, everything. And like you both walked away from it being like, this is so hard.
So hard.
And I think that's part of the thing, like when it comes to exercising, people that aren't like naturally athletic, or they've like gotten to the point where they're, severely overweight, they're afraid to get into classes.
I think
they
so
don't think they can do it.
Yeah. And like, I mean, I think now with like body positivity movements and stuff like that, I hope that the majority of classes like nationwide or whatever, like they aren't saying things during the class that would be super shitty or discouraging. But I think just in general for everyone, it's about finding the exercise that works for you. Like I'm so insanely bad at dancing.
Yeah.
And I used to have friends that were like, oh, come to this fucking coordination class. I was like, I hate this. I look like an idiot. And I feel like I'm not even getting the workout that it's supposed to be because I'm that uncoordinated that I'm not doing the moves.
Yeah, you're focusing on the moves and not even like what like you're focusing on trying to get the moves right and not like going with the flow and like working your muscles.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally.
So I feel like for anybody, it's like, what do you like? Like berries? Fuck that shit, dude.
Yeah.
Fuck
I feel like that's another thing with workout classes that I want to like look into more with this podcast is like they have these like weird cult followings.
Yes,
Berries
they do.
is like very like LA hot girl.
Mm-hmm.
They all love berries. I mean, there's berries in New York.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Tons of berries.
It does feel, I guess, because maybe it started in LA. It feels like a very distinctly LA thing.
Yeah. Have you ever taken a berries class?
No.
Oh.
And aren't they expensive?
They're like $45.
That's a lot of money for a single class.
There's so many dollars and they're so hard and it's.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
You have to go to Barry's, and then you have to get like a $45 smoothie at Erewhon after.
Yeah.
That's the day.
That's the day.
Yeah.
That sounds like a horrible day.
I know, truly.
A very hungry day.
Hungry day.
Yeah.
And then another workout class, I guess, that has a cult following is Orange Theory.
I hate it. So Orange Theory to me is like, it's the Midwestern version of Barry's.
Yeah, that's the perfect way of describing it. Definitely. Yeah. You know, and that says something because like Orange Theory, I definitely do think more Midwestern, where it's like with Barry's, it's definitely LA. And so it's like it's all marketing because it's how you, like, I have friends that do Orange Theory that love it. No, you're fine. That wouldn't feel, I guess, welcomed is the word that's coming to mind, even though I don't know if this is the case, that wouldn't feel like they belong in a Barry's class, but they like the Orange Theory class, I guess.
No, I could see that.
Yeah.
Because Barry's feels like Soho House.
Yes.
It's like
Equinox, like.
Yes, exactly. Where it's like, you got to wear your matching whatever the fuck. Where Orange Theory, you can show up and be like, listen, I'm in my free t-shirt. Yeah.
Literally, you could just be wearing like stretchy pants and a hoodie.
Yeah, it's encouraged.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. That is so true.
But the shittier the place, the less I want to go. I'm not saying Orange Theory is shitty, but in college, like my whole like house of girls that I live with, like had Planet Fitness memberships.
Yeah.
We went in there once to sign up.
No, yeah, it's terrible.
Because it was disgusting inside.
I go to Planet Fitness on the road when I have to go take a shower. And the hotels I stay at are that bad.
Oh, gosh. That's crazy.
Yeah. I feel like my favorite classes, and one, you know how like people are like, oh, I want to like learn how to play tennis because you can play it into your older years. I feel like I want to find a really gentle Pilates studio. Because solid core is not it. Yeah. Solid core is what I go to right now, the one I brought Claire to, and that is so fucking hard. It's like we're training to be Navy SEALs. Like it makes no sense at all. And so I'm sort of just like I don't know. I'm like, how much longer can I do this? Yeah. I'm 32. Totally. So I want to find like a nice, gentle Pilates. Also, boxing's really fun.
I love boxing.
Boxing is super fun. Have you done Rumble?
I haven't done Rumble. In like college, we would do boxing stuff, and it was like, you know, you go into it being like, it's boxing. We're gonna throw some punches, and like I couldn't walk after. Yeah, it was
it's
like
so fun.
It's crazy how intense it is.
I get super like I don't know, because I was an athlete, so I like. It like unlocks something.
You get into that zone.
Yeah. Were you an athlete?
So can't
believe I don't know this.
Well, I was a softball player up until high school, and I think the reason why I didn't do softball in high school was because the school had a track team, and my mom was really into running, and so I was just like, oh well, mom's into running, so I'm gonna do running. Yeah. And I when I think back on it, I really liked that I was like the only freshman on the team when I was like doing spring track, and like I just liked I felt very special doing track. So I think that's why I like ditched softball. And then it, sports ended. But I had enough like ankle injuries and things that I had stopped with track and cross country by the time I was, I think, a senior. And then I went and like all my friends were doing the plays, so I did like the shitty high school plays. Oh, that's fun. The plays were fun. Those were great. Yeah. But I remember my mom like being like, "You're gonna get fat if you do that." It's like, just let me do the fucking play, man. None of this matters. Yeah, literally. Just leave me alone,
please. Also, I hate running. Yeah. Hate it. Do you like running?
I used to like it.
I hate it.
But I love walking. Oh my God. Like I could walk for like 10 miles. I could walk and walk and walk, especially living in New York. Like I want to do that thing where like you walk from like the upper west, like way above the upper west, and then you walk all the way down to World Trade.
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, it's a great,
like right around the water or whatever. That'd be perfect.
That's like a trail that people do.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, walking is so much better, but running, I fucking hate it. And I remember, like, you know, you grow up and you're like, working out is running on a treadmill. And I was like,
Yeah.
I don't think I like working out.
Yeah.
This is fucking terrible.
Oh yeah, you brought up the dance things. My grandma had Sweatin' to the Oldies. So I used to do that all the time. What's his name? Fucking
Richard Simmons?
Richard Simmons.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to do those workouts.
I remember
videos.
I remember there was like some conspiracy a few years ago that was like what happened to Richard Simmons because he just sort of dropped dead or not dropped
off.
And I was like, I don't know, he's like probably just fucking sick of being famous.
I know. So there was a whole podcast on that.
Yeah.
And so I listened to it, and there were basically like people. It's what people said about Britney Spears were saying about Richard Simmons, that like people, not that he was under a conservatorship, but that like people were controlling him and his money.
Is that true?
Well, the podcast wasn't like the most definitive on what the deal was. You know, because anytime Richard Simmons, the very few times he would like show face and put out a statement that like everything's fine, they're like, people are making him say that.
Right.
People were thinking that like his
conspiracy theories are so fun.
I know. My friend Judy sent me and my friend a video of like you know, Britney, is this an AI? Because that's the whole thing on TikTok is that
I've seen this actually.
And I said to her, I was like, I fall into these, is Britney Spears videos, are her videos AI? And I go from that to like full on QAnon when I fall into those rabbit holes. Yeah. Because you just like fully believe it.
Yeah.
And then I saw this one girl post. She was like, I just like, before I fall asleep at night, think about how there were all these people rallying to get Britney Spears out of her conservatorship. And then she gets out of the conservatorship and goes off of her antipsychotic meds and starts posting really bizarre, crazy things on the internet. And then that same group of people turned into that Britney's videos are AI generated.
That's so
that's
fucking
true.
funny.
Like,
that is 100% true.
It also really snaps you back down to reality.
I mean, she needs help.
She needs help. Yeah. It sucks because it's like, I do think her conservatorship was like way too much.
Yeah.
I do, but that's not to say that she doesn't need some kind of guidance.
Yeah. No, she needs something.
She needs something.
Because she is, I don't know what the fuck's going on, but she's...
But those videos, like, why are the videos on TikTok so convincing that, like...
They really are. I'm like, is this AI generated?
I know.
And then also, but I will say, okay. I've seen a few that I think are, like, sort of interesting. It's like, how come all of her wedding videos are super blurry? The fuck's up with that?
So, my one thing with that is, and this is, you know... beyond me and I don't realize the powers that be, but like Paris Hilton was there and like all these celebrities were there and they're like, yeah, she looked beautiful. It's like, okay, well, are they lying? Like, how much money are they being paid to lie?
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Because the photos do look weird.
And they don't need money, obviously.
No.
But maybe they have a secret to hide.
I know. I mean, is everybody part of this weird cabal?
But like, this is the thing. Like, this is the rabbit hole.
Exactly. Yeah.
I believe it.
I believe it, I guess.
I just feel like conspiracy theories are so fun.
They're my favorite thing.
They are great.
They're my favorite. I mean, we're children that, you know, have vivid memories of 9/11. So, of course, we're going to be conspiracy people or like, you know, enjoy them, I guess.
And I can't believe that George Bush did that.
You know, the 9/11, the new Pearl Harbor. What can I tell you?
100%.
Oh, God. Yeah.
That is insane. Yeah. What is your favorite conspiracy theory? I like benign ones like that.
I'm trying
I mean, it's
to
not
think.
that. I mean, obviously she's a woman, but like. Yeah. Like, what's another like really good conspiracy theory that's going on?
There are definitely some good ones. Why am I drawing a blank on this? I feel like I probably have like a tab on my TikTok collections where you can save videos where I think I have like conspiracies like that. I think that's a saved tab of mine for my saved videos. Why can't I think of any conspiracies right now that are coming to mind? I just know that you could present any conspiracy thing in front of me and there will be some parts that I'll be convinced about.
Of course.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's the nature of them.
Yeah.
That's how they work.
That's how they work.
I'm trying to explain this to people. And every time I say it, I sound crazy. And I feel like you're somebody that would understand what I'm saying.
Okay.
So
on me.
I think part of the reason why I can believe conspiracy theories and things of that nature is because growing up, the soundtrack to my childhood was Rush Limbaugh. Like being in my grandpa's car all summer, he was a private investigator, so I would just sit in the back of his Lincoln. He would drive around and have Rush Limbaugh on. And so like that was just like, I go to bed now and I listen to like reprogram your brain and positive affirmations and, calling abundance to you. I listen to that shit on YouTube every day as I go to bed.
Yeah.
And so like, cause subconsciously I want it to like, do whatever it's supposed to do. It's probably a bunch of hocus pocus. But so I think about that and I'm like, okay, so when I was a kid and I wasn't paying attention to Rush Limbaugh, subconsciously I was taking it all in.
Oh.
So when I'm now an adult and I see things that like on Twitter, for example, that like I logically wouldn't agree with, like, let's even call it like a pro-life, pro-choice thing.
Okay.
And I read something that's like from like the extreme right, like there is a little piece of my brain that will initially maybe like agree or see what they're saying.
Yeah.
And I try to explain to people that it's like, I don't logically agree with these things, but there's always this little piece of me that like maybe won't realize that what I'm reading is something Marjorie Taylor Greene said.
Right.
And I'm like,
but
that, I see what they're saying.
But also maybe there's a piece of it that's true and a piece of it that's insane. Have you ever thought about that?
Yeah, that's true. But then why can other people have the ability to just be like, that's insane?
I think because, that's a whole nother can of worms. I think that other people are so afraid to agree with someone. Like, let's say, let's use an extreme example. Let's say Tucker Carlson.
Right.
Okay. He comes on air and he's saying a bunch of things that like make sense. All of a sudden the Jews are running the government or whatever. And you're like, whoa. And then then those people would be like, oh, we have to discredit everything he says. And it's like, yeah, but he did make a few points here and here or whatever the fuck. I mean,
yeah, that's
I'm
true.
not saying I agree with Tucker. I'm just using this as the talking example. So it's like, I feel like because we live in a world where there's no nuance to be had.
Right.
Nuance is the devil. And like, if you think and you hold like two opinions to be true at one time, you're literally the worst person on earth. So those people have been trained in a way that your grandfather was like trained by Rush Limbaugh, but those people have been trained to see the da-da-da-da. Oh, they said this. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just going to discredit. I'm not going to listen to anything
that
they say.
It's like I have that one joke where it's like I have the conservative side of me that does believe that abortion is murder. And then,
right,
because like that's like literally what I've taught, and like you're killing a baby. So it's like I have this like piece of me that believes like abortion is murder, and then there's the other side that's logical that doesn't care,
of course,
like just based on rights,
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a weird thing, and I think that's why conspiracies.
That is also really funny. Like I've had an abortion. I agree with abortion. I support abortion, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But it's funny how like people will be like, I don't even understand what the other side's stance is. I'm like, you don't understand it?
You don't understand
it?
Are
you kidding me?
Right.
I'm like, these people think that we are murdering children.
I believe women when they I believe women when they believe that abortion is murder, and sure maybe some men, but I don't believe the male politicians because they're the ones that are getting their mistresses abortions. Like,
agreed.
Maybe
they don't
not.
Think that
that's a blanket. That's a blanket statement. But yes, what you're saying is, what do you mean you don't see the other side?
It's
like of course,
like of course they're upset because they think that we're like murdering a baby.
Yeah,
it's like. I can understand why they're upset. To say that you can't understand why they're upset is like retarded.
Yeah,
stupid.
literally.
Can you bleep?
Yeah, we'll bleep.
Now everyone's gonna throw out what I said because I just said that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we went on a tangent, but
we sure did. But yeah, it is such a funny like topic. Somebody actually asked me this question recently. It was Nick Hopping, friend of the pod. He asked me, he was like, what if there was a politician that everything they said aligned with you, but then randomly they were like anti-abortion? And I was like, that would be really hard.
That's tough. I've heard like if Marianne Williamson was like
Yeah.
anti-choice, pro-life, whatever the verbiage is we're supposed to be using. Yeah, I don't know. I would be very torn, and I have to say, I think maybe it's the part of me now that like wants to rebel against the way that I was raised. I don't think I could go with them, only because, and I'm maybe I'm wrong in thinking this. I just think that if men could get pregnant, this wouldn't even be a fucking thing.
I totally agree.
I
totally agree.
Which like every sound-minded, logical person that I've spoken to, and like we've had this kind of conversation, agrees with that. Like if men had to deal with this shit, it just wouldn't be a conversation.
It really would not, which is like really funny.
I know.
Actually.
Crazy.
I mean, funny in a very sad, terrible way, but it's true.
Yeah.
But it's also funny how like no one's willing to concede things either. Like about the same topic, somebody was talking to me and they were like, "Can you believe this law in this place and whatever?" And they basically like they outlawed abortion. And I was like, "There's no like time limit." And they were like, "Well, there's a time limit." And I was like, "Okay, so then you say that."
Yeah.
Like it's egregious enough without you exaggerating.
And even it's agreed,
you know what
because
I mean?
even if you add in the time limit, it almost adds to the severity of it. Because you're like, what do you mean after 6 weeks? You don't even know what the deal.
6 weeks is basically anti-abortion. It's basically like illegal abortions, but
yeah. But isn't that the same? Isn't that the sentiment for everything? I'm gonna bring it back to the idea, like what the concept of the podcast is that I feel like you either have to be 100% for fat models or 100% anti-fat models. There can never be like fat models, diet culture, exercising. You have to be all in or all out.
So true. And it's also very funny to me that like the concept of exercise and watching what you eat is now considered all right.
I know.
Which is very funny. And it's like, okay, what?
Yeah.
Like I can, go to solid core and still be on the left.
Right.
Like that doesn't make any sense.
And well, you can still go to solid core and not be fat phobic.
Yes.
Because that's the thing now that I'm noticing on the internet. Now, granted, everything I'm talking about are things that I glean from the internet. So I don't know if it's 100% real. Because it's happening on the internet, but this is what I have to go off of.
The internet's a bunch of psyops.
It is. It is. Like, every time I, look online about this kind of stuff, the major sentiment that I see is that X, Y, and Z is fat phobic. So if I, intentionally losing weight, intentionally exercising to better your health.
What if your doctor's like, your heart's about to explode?
There's still this, conversation on the internet that still is fat phobic because doctors are inherently and believe me, I have experience going to the doctor and them like immediately wanting to talk about weight loss, but like that's not what I'm at the doctor for.
Right.
So there is 100% credence to what people are saying when they say that doctors, just because of the BMI, like what they go off of is BMI. And there is tons and tons of history and research to prove that the BMI scale is bullshit.
Yeah.
So when doctors have that to go off of and they see that your BMI is higher than where it, quote unquote should be, when they're advising you, that's what they're going to look to for it being the cause of many problems.
Right.
So I 100% see what they're saying.
Yes, agree.
That doesn't change the fact that when you go into the doctor's office and your cholesterol is through the roof, you need to make dietary changes.
Right.
Like I know with Joe, this is like, if you're a guy that needs to get your life together, just get a fucking girlfriend. I'm just going to put that out there and say that because, I kept telling Joe, you got to go to the doctor. When's the last time you had a physical? These men don't like going to the fucking doctor. So he goes to the doctor and everything's good, but his cholesterol's through the roof. So the doctor was like, you have to, I would recommend going on a vegetarian diet because I think.
Until when? Forever?
Do it, and then we'll see you in, 6 weeks or whatever the case may be.
That quick? Wow.
Yeah, I don't know what the time frame was, but I know that since he's gone to the doctor and talked to a few weeks has passed and he's spoken to him, things have gotten better. So all that is to say that, Joe's cholesterol was through the roof. So he's like, try being vegetarian, vegan. He took meat out completely, fish too, I think. and sometimes has cheese. But so he's mostly vegan, but mostly vegetarian, sometimes vegan. He dropped at least 10 pounds. I think
Wow.
he dropped more than 10 pounds.
Holy shit.
He looks like he's lost more than 10 pounds. And
Wow.
his cholesterol went way down. He had a kidney stone that we thought was a hernia that if he hadn't gone to the doctor would have been a nightmare to pass. But since he like adjusted his diet and like,
Wow.
you know, he had to go on like some pill for that. But so many positive changes came from him making that change that was necessary and advised by a doctor. So it's like when it comes to a doctor telling you that you need to make these changes so that these health things improve,
Right.
that's 100%. You know, I think that if you're going to your doctor for headaches and they're advising you to lose weight, maybe you're being slightly ill-advised.
Yeah,
because
that makes no
what's
sense.
the
What's the
correlation?
correlation?
Exactly. Aside from, you know, maybe more movement can help your headaches. I don't know.
I don't know. You know what's really funny? I remember when I was a teenager, I had a horrible back knee, but I just like, I thought that was just like part of being
You're
a
a lot
teenager.
in life, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, you know, I have fucking crazy back knee. I don't know. And I went to the doctor and she was just like checking off my chart. She was like, okay, this. What's your plan for your cystic acne on your back? And I was like, I don't have a plan. She goes, what are we going to do about it? I was like, you tell me.
Do you worried about me getting laid? Like, why do you care about my back knee?
And then she like prescribed me some lotion, and I was like, why wouldn't you just ask me, like,
Yeah.
would you like a lotion for the acne on your
Yeah.
back? Instead, she was like, what are we doing about that acne on your back?
Have you seen your back?
That was like the most Massachusetts thing ever. She was like, what the fuck's going on with your acne on
You're
your
a
back?
pretty girl. You shouldn't have so much back knee.
Yeah, exactly. You want to be wearing the tank tops for the boys.
And that's why I go to female doctors.
Yeah. Oh my God, it was so funny. And I was like, I didn't have a plan for the
Yeah.
back knee. I
guess now I do.
yeah.
Thanks to you, doc.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Did
that's
you have
so
back
funny.
knee?
No.
Oh, good
No.
for you.
I like I had bad acne in college. And thinking back, I think it was that Dream Matte Mousse shit. I really like
Yeah,
that. When I look
probably.
back, I think that was the shit that like really fucked my face up. Like high school,
Yeah.
college, the Dream Matte Mousse. And then of course college, the drinking.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, there's a reason why things cleared up when I got out
Right.
of, you know, being an animal.
So much drinking. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Drinking and drugging.
Drinking and drugging, man. Drinking and drugging. Because you have to get your, you know, your calories are coming from your alcohol. And so the
Yes.
drugging has to sustain you because you're not
Right.
eating. 'Cause you
Right.
can't afford those calories.
No. You
Which
have to
I've
be paying for your
learned-
alcohol.
I've learned that there's a term for people that are anorexic but supplement with alcohol.
Oh.
Yeah. It's
we know
called-
somebody like that.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of fun to
Oh,
hang
yeah.
out with. It's not orthorexia, alcohorexia or something.
Oh.
I'll find the exact terminology, but yeah, there's like term, and that's another thing that I think is new, just in general, is that there's terms for everything now.
There is, and I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing.
You
What's your
know,
opinion on that?
I don't know, because it's like I talked to my therapist, and you know, we'll talk about me, you know, having had to have food journals, you know, when I was like 5 years old, and like
Right.
you know, and you know, according to my therapist, now because of that, I have complex PTSD, and
Oh,
it's like,
boy. don't
did
know
I
about
need to
that.
have it? You know, I mean, not just the food journals, but
Yeah,
like, did
yeah.
I need does it need to be maybe from a mental health perspective, like identifying is a part of the way to get onto the track of betterment?
I guess, but like, is it like Joe's cholesterol, where you can say, okay, now I know I have this. How do I remedy it? And now it's gone.
For me, it
or
is.
oh, it is okay.
For me, it is 100%.
Okay.
But you do this in tandem with social media, and now all of a sudden you get to have a TikTok personality off of being a complex PTSD individual. There's tons.
You should put that in your bio.
Yeah. But people do, and it's like, you know, I've learned a lot from TikTok, being like, oh, okay, I'm not alone in weird shit that has happened throughout my
right,
life. You know, like
right.
I really like it for that, and like I really like I'm talking about TikTok specifically. While I make fun of people diagnosing themselves on the app because that is insane, I do kind of like that. Like, I am able to identify certain things. I'm like, oh, maybe that is my deal. But the problem is, you know, I think it's all about like gaining information and then moving on, and people can't do that because we're all looking for our niche. We're all looking for the thing that we can be that like makes us the leader of these new group of people that we've discovered we're a part of.
Right.
I think. I mean, I don't know anything, but
yeah, it's so weird.
Yeah.
I don't know what to think about that. About like the people diagnosing themselves on TikTok. It's really funny.
There has to be a rise in people going to the doctor being like, "Doc, I think I'm autistic." There has to be.
Definitely.
There has to
and
be.
the doctor's like, I don't know.
Whatever.
Yeah, everyone is autistic now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that can't be.
That can't be. But then there's also, I mean, studies, what do I know? But there is like, you know, people saying like, well, it's hard to identify in women, so maybe that's why we're seeing more women that are autistic. But I'm like, okay, let that be for the kids that are being pumped out now.
Right.
Like, let's identify them correctly.
Correct.
I don't know. There are some people that it's like we were saying, like, they get this diagnosis and like they've taken it in and now they're gonna like move on from it. But then there's the people that I guess cannibalize it and like take it in, and it's like, all right, well, this is my new personality now.
Yes, exactly.
You know, not to
they
say that autism.
That's
not
your joke too.
Oh yeah, but it's not to say that you know. I'm not saying that like autism is something that can be fixed. I'm saying in terms of like emotional disorders.
Right, of course.
You know.
Yeah.
I just always thought that PTSD was something that like, you know, people that witnessed horrific accidents and got when they were in war, and now it's like everybody is suffering from PTSD.
Oh, totally.
I think being a human.
Yeah.
You know?
And I mean, I think that might be true. Like my mom went through like a big thing with I'll tell you off air. It's like kind of ridiculous, but she told me that she's diagnosed PTSD, and I was like, that makes sense.
Yeah. No, my mom I think that if she had a therapist maybe sit her down and talk about like the alcoholism that she endured in her life growing up, having two immigrant parents from Ireland, I think maybe like a diagnosis of PTSD
or whatever the fuck it's called.
Whatever, yeah, complex PTSD, whatever. I think maybe that would be good for her to hear and be like, oh, that's why I, you know, react this way to certain things, you know,
right.
Identifying it so you can place it.
Yeah.
So there's definitely good in that. But I, you know, even now, just like having this conversation, I feel like, you know, you can clip this and then all of a sudden it's, you know, you're on the wrong side of TikTok.
Oh, completely.
I think the wrong side of TikTok can also be, it's not just like, oh, I ended up on the wrong side of TikTok. Like, so now I have all of these weird conservative people all over my video. I think it can also be the wrong side of being like, now I have all these weird liberal people that are dissecting everything I'm saying.
Completely. I've seen both sides of TikTok, and they're both equally bad, which is probably not a surprise, but
yeah, no. Totally. I feel like if you like talk to somebody that grew up like me, and I'm not saying my parents, I'm saying just like Catholic school and stuff. Like if you talk to somebody like me, you know, you can find all the bad things, but then you also talk to somebody that has like crunchy granola parents that like gave them all the sex ed, and they're like, that was bad for me too.
Right. Exactly.
Yo, can you get Finn?
Yeah. Finney's going crazy.
I don't know if he needs attention or what.
No, I totally agree. Like my parents, I think your parents, is safe to say, were Fox News parents. My parents were CNN parents.
Yes.
And they're both brainwashed in their own ways. Like my mom will tell me things and I'm like, Mom, that's been debunked. And like she'll be like, no, this, and this. And I'm like, no. You listen. And she'll be like, you don't get it. And like then she'll get mad at me. And I'm like, I'm sorry for telling you facts that are public knowledge, that are actively not shared on CNN for why the fuck do you think?
Literally the same conversation goes down at my house.
Yeah.
Just for the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So was your mom, this is a departure, but I just thought of this. So did your mom introduce the concept of dieting to you, or did you discover it on your own?
That's a good question. I don't really know where I discovered it.
Do you remember the first time you were like, I'm going to do this diet?
I don't remember. No, I don't. I remember like wanting to be skinny in a really bad way, and I remember like being super super hungry, but I put like weird rules on things. Like I would be like, okay, so it's 12. I can't eat until and I'm starving, but I can't eat until 3 because if I eat until 3, something bad's going to happen. I might not make my hockey team, or I'm going to get a bad grade, or I'm going to fucking this boy's not going to like me. It would be like
weird OCD
Yeah,
thing.
like a weird OCD. Like I had to control something in my life. And so that was like really where I started dieting in that sense. And I felt like being skinny was like a currency. And I kind of still do.
No,
and
it's a societal value for sure.
Yeah, I'm trying to like unwrap that a little bit, but I would say like I definitely still feel that way a little bit, where it's like if you are super, super thin, people treat you differently.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to be as skinny as possible.
Yeah.
All the time.
So you did fear-based intermittent fasting.
Pretty much. And I remember there was like one specific year, and I don't remember what age. I must have been like 12 or something, like going through puberty. And I was barely eating. I would go to school with a sandwich. Let me tell you something. That sandwich was going in the fucking trash.
Yeah.
And I went to the doctor, because we went to this doctor every year. By the way, he went to jail for pedophilia. I have that in my books.
Oh yeah, famously.
Famously. But anyway, so I went to this doctor. They weighed me, and they were like, and they were like, to go out and like wait in the waiting room. We want to talk to your mom for a second. And
did alarm bells go off for you?
No. Because I didn't think I was doing anything wrong. And so my mom, and neither did my mom, by the way. So they go in, and they were like, so she's grown like 2 inches, but she's lost weight from last year. So something's up, obviously.
I was like, oh, good job.
Yeah, really. And then my mom comes out, and we get in the car, and she goes, they tried to tell me that you have an eating disorder. I said, what? I send her with a sandwich every day. And here's the other thing. She goes, this is what she said. She would fucking kill me if she knew I was saying this on a podcast. But she goes, I looked around that waiting room, bunch of porkers in there. She goes, you think they're lecturing their kids about weight? I don't think so. I wonder why. Gotta tiptoe around their feelings while my thin daughter gets like...
Stop, that's so funny. Because it's like, why? I don't care. It doesn't matter if you're a Fox News parent or a CNN parent. My mom responded the same way to the idea of an eating disorder being happening.
Right. She was like, but I think looking back, sorry to cut you off.
No.
Looking back on it, I think my mom took it as, because she was so busy. Like my dad worked all the time. She worked all the time. Like, it's the 90s, like, or whatever, early 2000s.
This shit.
She was so busy that she was like, I'm fucking hanging on by a goddamn thread, and you're going to tell me I'm a bad mother?
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Yeah.
Like,
I feel that completely.
Yeah.
Completely.
She's like, I have 3 kids. I don't need to deal with this fucking bitch not eating her sandwich. I make her a goddamn sandwich. And if that's how you like, fuck it. Like,
and like, I don't know what the right way to approach a parent about this is, because it's like, we all know, like, it's not crazy for you to think like, oh, there's this social currency behind being thin. We all know that that's a thing. And it's still true to this day, which is why I think body positive in general has completely missed the mark, because we're not acknowledging the fact that there is social currency to your weight and how you look. It's not, I think, completely weight, but how you look, A burn victim's not going to get the job that I'm going to get.
Right.
Just because of how we look. But yeah, your mom is just taking you to the fucking doctor because she has to take you to the doctor, and she's being told that this thing is present. And it's like, now you look back and it's like, you have a teenage daughter. Of course this is happening. Like, I don't have a single friend that didn't have some form of a weird eating disorder.
Right.
But it's like, the eating disorder didn't necessarily start with the idea of being thin being the way to be. It started with this OCD, really.
Yeah, like control.
Yeah, control. Like, I cannot eat till 3 p.m. or this will happen, which I
Yes.
totally relate to. I didn't necessarily do that with food, but like I would check my doorknob to my bedroom. Like I would get in bed, then go back and make sure to make sure it was locked or unlocked, whatever. And I would do that again and again and again because I had a bedwetting problem. And so I was like, if I don't do this, I'm gonna wet the bed. And so that was how I handled it.
Right.
And so yeah, it's just it's crazy how really these things manifest from mental disorders.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's like,
true.
why did you think you wouldn't get these things if you didn't, you know?
I don't know. I just did.
But they're just a survival mechanism because it's like got you to where you are.
Right. And you know what? Like, honestly, for some stuff with comedy, like I've done like OCD rituals for the things with comedy and I've gotten them.
Yeah, same.
And then when I'm like, oh, those are ridiculous, I'm not going to do them. And I don't get them. So I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Like, maybe I should be maybe I should fucking be tapping my head 45 times.
I feel like we all kind of do that though. For like, I don't think it's just, you know, you and I are in a select few that are like doing weird tapping things or whatever to make sure we get what we.
No, I think most people do.
Most people do it, you know?
And then there's like a certain extreme where like we have a mutual friend, Mike Bramante, a friend of the pod, who has like, he needs like medication. Like he can't like leave his fucking house.
Yeah. Because
of his OCD. But yeah, this is also something that I've thought about before where like my mom always ate whatever we ate at the table, just in like a smaller portion. But I've thought about this before because I want to have kids and I'm like, there's no fucking chance I'm going to be eating pasta at dinner because carbs are for lunch.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. You eat your carbs earlier in the day.
And I was like thinking about this and I was like, but I don't want to instill some weird shit into my kids where they're like, how come mom's only eating this?
Because it will instill weird shit.
Even if I'm like, oh, I'm busy and like da da da, they're gonna be like, mom's not eating dinner.
Well, you know, they think there is like a way though to do it smartly. Like, you know, if you have a pasta on the table, you'll also have a salad. Like, you know, you're just choosing to eat your chicken parm with the salad base instead of the pasta base.
Right.
So maybe it's more about showing your kids about options of what's available to you.
Okay.
And I'm choosing to eat these vegetables because mom needs more vegetables right now. Right. You know, but you guys are growing, and so it's better for you guys to have the carbs. So I think that there's like, and this goes back to the all or nothing way of being. It's like you either have to eat the carbs in front of your kids to show them that that's, you know,
fine
what
to
they
do.
To do, or you need to like not have pasta on the table because, you know, you don't want you don't want to be fat, whatever.
Right.
Like, I don't know. There has to be like a tactful way of going about this.
Right. Like one of these fitness influencers that I think we both follow is Melissa Wood Health.
Oh, hell yeah.
And and she's you know, she's not without her flaws. I do like her for some things. I do think she's obnoxious for other things. But I like do wonder, like, I'm like, I feel like her kids are going to be like, my mom was constantly working out.
Right.
And eating these jokes of recipes.
Right. Oh my God.
Have you seen her recipe pages? They're
oh, have I seen her recipe pages?
And like, okay, listen, I want to put this out there. I love Melissa Wood Health. I think what she does in general is really good. And I think she's a great mom. But I will say, like, I would be like, oh, if I'm not exactly perfect all the time, I'm not gonna have the life my mom has.
Right.
You know. That's
Yeah, no, I definitely.
I could see that being a thing.
Totally.
I'm not saying it will be. I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, definitely.
I don't know why I'm acting like she's going to watch this episode.
One could dream, man. Melissa Wood Health, I'd love to have you on the podcast because I do make your recipes, only I have to triple the fucking serving size. Because
yeah, you know what? Those recipes that we made with like the sliced eggplant,
I love
very
that.
good.
It's so good. No, they're great recipes.
Delicious.
But you're going to be hungry. You're going to be hungry.
It's not enough food.
It's not enough food. Like, can't we just all agree that like vegetables are good and you kind of have any amount that you want until you're full? Like your body can use vegetables, right?
Yeah, I think
you know,
so.
They're like calorically, I think dense is like when they're good.
No, they're not calorically dense.
Yeah, they're not calorically dense. So, you know, whatever. I mean, obviously if you follow it up with a chocolate cake, then you probably shouldn't have had so many vegetables, but you know, you don't have a cake. I don't know.
Whatever.
But yeah.
What's a diet fad right now that you can't stand? I have an answer.
Let me hear it.
Keto.
Yes, we both hate the keto diet.
Okay, because first of all, it's rebranded Atkins.
Yes.
It's rebranded
the millennial Atkins.
It really is. And it's just so bland, but then fattening at the same time. Like, it's like cheese on a bacon.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing here?
I know. I don't think any diet where we've convinced ourselves that fruit is bad for you is a good diet.
The watermelon that you're eating is not the problem.
No, it's not the
promise you
problem.
that.
Like the idea that all sugars are bad. Natural sugars from fruit? No, I will take that over bacon grease.
Absolutely.
There's
tons of fiber in that. It makes me happy.
Yeah, makes me happy for sure. Yeah, I hate the keto diet is so funny, and I think it's the thing with diets is that can't we all learn that? Haven't we gotten to the point now with where we are with dieting to know that different bodies require different things?
Yeah,
I do think for some reason some guys function really well on a keto diet, like Vinny from Jersey Shore, the Keto Guido.
Oh.
He does keto. He does keto and lost a bunch of weight. He's shredded. It fits for him, his lifestyle. It works for him.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe his heart is going to give out. I don't know. Not his doctor, but Keto Guido or keto works for the Keto Guido 100%. Okay. But I don't think I haven't seen many women where it works for them.
No, me neither. I really haven't.
No, women need vegetables and fruits
we
and
need
lean
a lighter
proteins.
fare.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
I can't be doing bacon with grease.
Bacon with grease, no, I'm good on that. So keto is annoying. I honestly do have a bone to pick with intermittent fasting. I think that's another thing for women that just hormonally, depending where we are in a 28-day hormonal cycle, I don't think intermittent fasting works for all 4 of the weeks.
Interesting.
Because you're I saw this thing online, TikTok, that was think of your month in seasons.
Yeah.
So 1 week is summer, spring, fall, winter. So think of your period week as winter. And so what do you do when you're in the winter? You kind of eat more hearty things, you're less active, and then you're up and active spring, summer, and fall, you're kind of getting ready to get back into that winter phase. And so if you look at your month like that, the foods and activities that you're doing in your spring, summer week is different than the fall, winter week. Yeah. And so I think maybe intermittent fasting, when you you have to really know your cycle to see how it works best for you. But intermittent fasting for those 2 weeks that or maybe even 3 weeks that you're in the fall, spring, summer probably does work for you. But when it comes to having your period, if I have my period and I cannot eat until 2 p.m.,
oh my God,
Joe and I are going to break up. It's not sustainable. And that's the thing with diets is that I have yet to find a diet that I feel is sustainable.
Yeah. But that's my thing. I think just the word diet where you're there's rules and whatever, I don't think it's worth.
Yeah.
I think honestly it's just portion control.
It is portion control. And that's another thing. Portion control is huge. And so when you look at a 28-day cycle, that week that you're in your winter week or your period week, that's going to be the week where your portions are going to go up more because you're bleeding out of your asshole.
Right.
So, you're going to want more hash browns or whatever the deal is, because it's even living in New York, we have all 4 seasons. So in the summer, I'm good with that sweet greens fills me up in the summertime.
Yeah, so true.
But if I have a sweet green salad in the winter, I am starved.
So true. So true.
So I think we all
it's so hot and you just can't.
You can't. You need to hydrate is what you got to do. And so I think that if we all got a little bit more in tune with what's happening in our body, I think diet culture would shift a little bit. I do think that because I had a great thought and I just lost it. Intuitive eating I do think really has in what I've tried with intuitive eating, what I've done, I like the effects that I've seen. The idea that breakfast foods are breakfast foods and you can only have certain kinds of foods at certain times a day. It's like sometimes I would rather have like my leftover pasta in the morning.
Yeah.
Because in my mind, like I'm having this like leftover pasta morning, afternoon. I'm expending that energy from that food throughout the day.
Yeah.
And then at night before I go to bed, I'd rather have something lighter. So it's just like
That's so
intuitively,
true.
this is what I want to do. But I've been told my whole life that like, no, we have these lighter foods in the morning, which doesn't make any fucking sense.
Honestly, I hate breakfast foods. I hate cereal. Not hate, but I would prefer to have leftover dinner.
I don't care. I'll have leftover dinner for breakfast.
You know what is so stupid? But I've like heard of obviously intuitive eating before, but I didn't think of it in that context before.
Mm-hmm.
And last night I made Mark this like lemon chicken thing that I make, and I really like it. And I was like waiting till lunch to eat it, and I had a stupid bowl of cereal, and I was like, I can't wait to have the thing.
Cereal.
I was like, I can't wait to have the thing that I really want.
No, have the lemon chicken in the morning.
Yeah.
Throw those rules out of the window, because those rules are just what we've been programmed to think would like you have cereal in the morning.
Do not like eating eggs. I hate an egg. Hate an egg.
If you hate an egg, it's not for you.
I'm not gonna eat it.
No, I love it. But my what I've been doing, thank God for TikTok, because I don't know, I wouldn't know how to live without it. But there's this New Jersey stay-at-home mom that is an amazing cook, and like she is very much. I think
I've seen her maybe.
Leah Cucina.
I think there's a few, but yeah.
Oh, I fucking love her. And she just posted one time about, I take a low carb tortilla thing, I sprinkle some cheese on it, I throw it in the air fryer, and it gets nice and toasty, and then I take an egg and I put it on there. Oh my fucking God. It's changed my life, because I'd rather have that than a stupid bowl of sugar cereal.
Absolutely.
I hate cereal.
Yeah.
You know why I hate cereal is because if there's cereal in the house now, but Joe eats it. But if I have a box of cereal that I deem is one that I'm going to eat the whole box in one sitting.
What?
Because it just like, it's just so the mouthfeel of it, like I could just binge the whole box.
And it's just
so I'd rather it just
it's
not
really
even
easy to keep going to, because it's not that filling.
No,
it's just like
and because if you are gonna get full from it, it's gonna be fleeting. It's not gonna last long.
No, it's so true.
And I can't stand food like that. Yeah, like the sugar, like just no integrity foods. You don't stay full long.
I got speaking of that, I got like rice crackers, or like, what's it called? Rice cake crackers. And I was like, oh, this is like a good alternative to eating chips or whatever. And then I just ate the entire bag, and I was like, well, I just had 600 fucking calories.
Yeah.
I just had 600 calories of bullshit, too.
I think there's a time
Not
for
that chips would be healthy either, but you know.
Well, I think there's a time for rice cakes, and I think there's a time for chips. I think that like if you want chips and you honor it and you have the chips, you're not going to go for the chips 100% of the time. And I think that's the key to intuitive eating.
And with chips, you can get like the little single-sized bags.
Yeah, you can. There is built-in portion control that you can do, that you can go for.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know.
God forbid we have some chips.
God forbid we have some chips, man.
That's what life is about: is having chips on your tuna fish sandwich.
Yes,
Mae Lane. And now I'm back to my mother.
Man, listen, I've learned some helpful things from our mothers. I've learned that Greek yogurt is a great substitute to sour cream.
It really is.
Tastes the same.
It does.
You know, maybe they don't want to acknowledge that we've had eating disorders, but you know what?
That's fine.
We're the women we are today because of it. So
yeah, and
I'll take it.
I mean, my mom probably still has an eating disorder. So
yeah, I mean, they're women of, they were moms in the 90s. What do we expect?
Exactly.
You know?
Good for them.
Good for them. I think we've been going on and on and on, but I really appreciate you coming on. We'll have to have you back, because I feel like there's so much we didn't even get into. But
agreed.
I appreciate you being such a force behind this. Honestly,
no, you have to put this out. This is the best podcast in the world.
You heard it here first.
Yeah, I think that it's a really great concept, and I'm excited to see where it goes.
Thank you. I'm excited about it too. I'm having a lot of fun with it so far. Where can people find you?
They can find me on Instagram at Mae_Planert. I also run another podcast if you want to check it out. It's called Risque Business News. I do that with Laura Sogar, who I think is going to be a guest on the podcast as well. And that's it, I guess.
And my other favorite podcast, We Were Had.
Oh, and We Were Had.
Really fun, spooky, true crime-ish esque podcast. Great group.
Yeah, check us out.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Bye.
Bye.